Hello, I'm Joshua Birch, FTI Consulting's Head of Cybersecurity in EMEA. I joined FTI Consulting at the end of 2019 after 15 years working for the British government in a range of national security roles, including, most recently, 2 years as Chief of Staff to one of the UK's most senior national security officials, and before that 18 months spent as Head of the Strategy and Risk Team at British SIGINT and Cybersecurity Agency, GCHQ. During this short session, we'll be highlighting how attackers are employing automated means for financial gain using so-called malicious bots, automated programs that perform tasks which are often simple, repetitive, but most importantly completed at quicker speed than a human. If a task is too large for one bot, a network of computers might be harnessed instead to carry out the same task, a so-called botnet. Cyber attackers are increasingly using bots and botnets to heighten the scale and the reach of their attacks. So I'm going to hand over to my colleague Dave Harvey, who will delve further into the types of malicious bot attacks we're seeing, describe the costly, sizable damages they can bring, and highlight how organisations can build resilience against these threats.
Now, if you're to cast your mind back a year, you'll recall the demand for PPE such as hand sanitizer. You'll remember that getting hold of these was difficult, it was expensive, and I'm going to highlight for you how bots contributed to this frustrating scenario. To start off with, I want to stress why you as a business leader should really care about this. As Josh mentioned, we're seeing an accelerated rate of change in digitisation and e-commerce growth. In turn, this has increased the prevalence of malicious bot attacks, negatively impacting organisations in three ways. They erode productivity as a result of responding to bot attacks. They result in a loss of revenue through fraud or denial of inventory. And finally, as my colleague Jenny will discuss later, bots cause reputational damage from a customer perspective through fraud, spread of misinformation, or loss of data. Therefore, countering bots is not just an IT matter, it's a business-wide issue that requires business leaders to look across their organisation for solutions. So how is this happening? The Open Web Application Security Project, OWASP, is a non-profit foundation that works to improve the security of software. Their automated threat projects are a really useful reference about malicious bots and has helpfully classified the various threats. So let's discuss a few of those. Consumers struggle to get the goods that they really want, and this can be attributed in part to artificial demand being created by bots before then being resold at significant profit by resellers. Although elements of this may not be illegal, they certainly don't seem fair. Now, scalpers can bypass queues and waiting rooms, and many of them commit financial fraud by using fake payment information. Account credential attacks range from account creation, where multiple accounts are created for subsequent misuse, through to credential cracking and credential stuffing, involving mass login attempts to verify stolen credentials. Bot automation is making this process easy and painless for these threat actors. Attacks against payment cardholder data include carding, card cracking, and cashing out. Generally, these are characterised by being able to test thousands of card values in a fraction of the time it would take a human to do it manually. Bots can scan the internet extremely quickly, and they can scan a host against known databases of vulnerabilities and check for new exploits. Once they've found the vulnerability, bots can penetrate a network and report back to threat actors who can then conduct a later attack. Again, a real issue here for cybersecurity teams is the fact that bot traffic is very similar to that of humans, so it's very tough to distinguish. Now, going back to our case study, how could the scenario have played out? Well, firstly, a bot group or a reseller would identify a high demand item. They'll then have conducted reconnaissance against suppliers, possibly using a bot that identifies vulnerabilities and thereby allowing them to choose the most effective bot available through their broker. They'll be looking to secure any stock that becomes available in the fastest possible time, and that requires funding. And so one method of doing that would be to use bots that combine attacks like credential stuffing, cashing out, and scalping. And these are known as all-in-one bots. Detection capabilities help to determine whether actions are being conducted by a legitimate user or a bot. And it can also detect if attacks are in progress or determine if an attack has occurred. For example, by monitoring transaction speed or network traffic, or by applying rate control in order to prevent automated attacks and help slow down credential stuffing, brute force attacks, and DDoS. You could use digital waiting rooms or CAPTCHA capabilities. And finally, through account monitoring, you could identify compromised accounts before they're used for malicious intent. Finally, there are controls that assist in responding to these threat events, including attack mitigation, and help return an application to its normal state. Bot management capabilities can assist in anomaly detection, attack fingerprinting, and trend analysis. But also having reputable and reliable threat intelligence can help your security operation make the right decision ahead of a potential incident or breach. If used effectively, your cybersecurity team can build a capability that truly understands the threat vectors that your organization is facing. As a key takeaway, an ideal bot management solution is one that counters all elements of the bot ecosystem across people, process, and technology. Combining a secure software development lifecycle with reputable threat intelligence and a market-leading bot management system provides a rich technical solution that would complement the efforts of marketing or e-commerce departments in establishing and maintaining customer engagement. I'm now going to hand to Janie to discuss more in detail the reputational impact of bots.
These bots don't just have financial and operational impact, but also reputational impact. Their malicious activity hijacks user experience, which jeopardizes customer trust and loyalty, ultimately damaging the overall reputation of a company. And during a time of economic recovery, reputation matters more than ever. That's why it's critical that business leaders get ahead of this threat to protect reputation as much as possible, and ultimately their bottom line. Tackling the issue from a reputational perspective involves 4 core areas of activity. The first, gathering data and insights to understand the bot ecosystem from a communications perspective. For example, the trace of narrative and the spread of misinformation. You need to explore the ecosystem from all angles: media, social media, on and offline communities, gathering as much intel as possible to understand how the ecosystem is connecting with and engaging your audiences. Second, understanding how online behaviors around the bot ecosystem impacts on reputation. For example, trigger moments and activities that push the bot agenda forward. This involves exploring the bot activity in terms of the types of channels they're using, the volume and nature of their activity, as well as key players and tactics that are causing the most reputational impact. Third, understanding where opportunity or risk areas may lie, which will enable an organization to identify and plan proactive and reactive communication strategy. When doing so, it's important to remember that your audiences won't always be understanding of what bots are or the way that they're being targeted by them. Addressing this in your communication strategy is critical, for example, by providing warnings about unscrupulous activity or reminding customers of your commitment to safe and ethical selling practices, or using brand advocates to tell the story on your behalf. And then finally, developing a targeted communications program with tailored campaigns to ensure that reputation and audience trust is always protected or counterbalanced against. And during a time of economic uncertainty, protecting consumer trust and confidence has never been more important.
Thanks for joining today to learn how we at FTI Cybersecurity are helping clients beat the bots. There are 3 things I'd like business leaders to take away from today's session. First, beating the bots is a business-wide issue, which requires a holistic solution. As Dave emphasized, business leaders need to look across their organization and focus on people and processes as well as technological solutions. Second, as a business leader, you must ensure your InfoSec teams and CISOs have a reputable and reliable threat intelligence provider involved in their bot management capabilities and solutions. And finally, I would urge you to support and initiate the push for a cross-government and law enforcement approach to countering the bots. Further to Jane's points earlier, these efforts are directly impacting organisations' revenue, trust and reputation, and are therefore becoming a large focus area for board members across the globe. If you have any questions following this session, please don't hesitate to reach out to us directly.